good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome back to World Online Racing for Season 22, PC Tier 2, of course. The title is no longer up for grabs. Zorzo wrapped that up last week, and of course he will no longer make his return to the grid. And in that absence, a champion returns in Luca Rapassa. But we are going to be in for an interesting race around a circuit in the Ardennes Forest of Spa-Francorchamps. My name is Max Ring, and alongside me this evening, it's not Hyper, it's not Corey. We're back with Joseph. How are you, Joseph, on this Monday evening?
6. It should be very, very good fun. PC racing for myself at least, because of course we had the Dutch Grand Prix last time. We've just taken a little skip over the border and we're heading to the Spa-Francorchamps circuit for this evening's action. And well, it's a very different experience to the Dutch circuit, I would say.
It is. It's a really different experience. Of course, it's a lot more all about the straight line speed. It's not as technical, and it's certainly a circuit that has a bit more iconicness in the F1 scene, and a lot more iconic corners. And it's just a completely different challenge to what we saw from Zandvoort. But drivers are now heading out onto the circuit. We are into qualifying, so let's head trackside to see all the action unfold. And the first driver to be starting their lap seems to be, once they cross the line, it's going to be Lucas Baesner, who is starting, heading down into turn 1. Now, of course, the source. Joseph, get us underway with this lap, as we will have another lobby restart just like last week, thanks to a 5-place grid penalty for Modeler.
Well, I think in fairness, I was having a look at what was going on further down the order, and I think there was a few drivers getting a little bit aggy with each other for no real reason, because it's the start of qualifying, and there's a reason why we're seeing Joe Hannon back into the pit lane. But yeah, we are going on board now with Lucas Baesner for a lap around this Spa circuit, and of course he's already headed through the first sector, the most iconic sector around this entire circuit, and one of the most iconic sectors on the calendar, just because of all the corners that you have. You've got Eau Rouge, you've got Radion, and you've got Lucas Baesner there just dipping and tire into the gravel. That's going to lose him a bit of time, as he's going to throw the car through the second sector, and so it's not quite going to be right up there. But of course the first laps aren't the most important ones. It's what you can do later on that will define your qualifying session. It's just about getting used to the equipment, getting underway, and getting yourself sorted out the first few laps in qualifying. Little dip into the gravel once again for Baesner, as he's got a 13.2 in the first two sectors and hasn't quite carried as much speed as I'd imagine he would have liked out of the corner because of that dip into the gravel. Then the final corner will beckon the bus stop chicane for Baesner, and he will get the first lap time on the board for this evening. Heavy braking after a long period of basically flat out racing, and Baesner is going to throw the car in and out of the corner and will set a lap time of a 1 minute 40.753. We'll see where that stacks up against the rest of the field as they all come across the line, and Reece Imtiaz goes fastest. Tamas Kokeni, 1,000th quicker than the Thomas Enger driver. He moves up to what is now third place because of Baesner's teammate in the car, Marquardt, who goes up to the front row of the field.
Yeah, nice stuff there so far from Reece Imtiaz. Still 2 tenths clear. Here comes Lamrock to the line. He goes fourth fast. He's just slots in behind Modeler. Make that just behind Esti as Alejandro carry on his hot streak of form in qualifying. He now goes to the top of the times, closely followed by Aaron Raminguez, both in the 1 minute 40.2s. Of course, more drivers coming to the line. Nico Rasenberg goes 12th fastest. Him and, of course, Tom 97 making the step up from Tier 4 this evening to help fill out that grid. We're going to be waiting for Tom Martinez to come to the line, but he's aborted his attempt, so he's going to be the one and only driver so far that's come out of the pit lane to not set a lap time. But it's a man who took pole position last time out, Alejandro, who just missed out on a race victory last time out in Zandvoort. He's been oh so quick ever since he made his debut in Australia. The Kick Sauber driver once again kicking things off nicely, and he really is setting himself up nicely for the remainder of this season to see if he can potentially challenge for a place in the top 5 in the standings.
Yeah, that's exactly what he would want to see, I think. And, well, a 1500th gap between himself and Francesco Lago, a 15,000th gap even between himself and the man in second is a good start to his session as everybody on an in-lap, apart from, I believe, Tom 97 and Joe Hannon, indeed. Tom 97 on a push lap. Joe Hannon, there was a bit of contact on his first run as he was coming through the final few corners. Just got a little bit eager to get his lap underway. Overtook quite a few cars, and there was one that wasn't quite expecting it. So Joe Hannon ended up going into the side of them and then straight into the pit lane because he had a front wing end plate off. He's headed to the end of the first sector now, but Tom 97 is a little bit further down the line using one of the special edition liveries on that V-Cub. Of course, there was, I believe, 3 to choose from, and he's gone for the pink and white, which I think, personally, is the nicest, just a silver sheen on the side of the car as well. But yeah, he has the second sector to contend with, and he was improving by 4 seconds in the first. What can he do in the second? It's going to be 9.7 seconds that he's found in said second sector, but he needs 12.7 if he wants to catch up to Matthias van Erven, the slowest car of all so far. The 7/10 gap splitting first and last. Of course, Alejandro Loureiro at the top and Matthias van Erven down at the bottom. The Red Bull is going to want to get out of the way, does so nice and quickly, and Tom 97 now up to the line. What can the V-Cub do on his first real run of this session? It's going to be a 40.6, which slots him right in the mid-pack in 11th place. Joe Hannon now has the final corner to contend with. He's kept it valid. He's kept that front wing on. And what can the Williams do as he makes his way to the line? It's a 41.1. So it's the slowest time of everybody so far.
Yeah, not so good there from Joe Hannon. You could see just in that final chicane, went a little bit deep through the first part, compromised his run out of the second. And unfortunately, the only driver in the 1 minute 41s thus far. I wouldn't be surprised if seeing Luca Rapazza in the pit lane. He's either going to start from the back or do a one and done situation at the end of this qualifying session. But we do have more drivers now heading out onto the circuit to start their second attempt. And to kick us off, it will be the 2 Aston Martin boys. It'll be Lucas Baesner and Joel Marquardt. Of course, at one stage on those first runs, Marquardt split Lucas Baesner from, of course, Reyes Imtiaz. And now look how many cars are in between them, especially look at SD versus Langrock. 2,000ths of a second separate P9 and 10, the Ferrari and the Haas. But these second runs are a little bit more crucial for these drivers. It's to get you set up for that final attempt. It's to get the preparation in that you dearly need for that final run. And if you can get the pole position done in this attempt, if you can find the time to improve just enough where you don't have to go quicker on that final attempt, it will certainly do you good in the long run. But these next runs, not so crucial, but certainly if you want to be competitive, you need a better lap time.
Yeah, it's all about taking the pressure off the final run, right? So you can get a lap time in now that might, you might be contending for pole position in these runs, and then you invalidate on the final one, but your lap time's still good enough for maybe a top 10 start. So it's just the way up that they've got to make, and well, it's the likes of Luca Rapazza, Joe Hannon, who haven't got a decent lap time on the board. Joe Hannon at 41.1, so 2/10 off of Matthias van Erven, Luca Rapazza with no lap time at all. It's really going to mount the pressure on those two as they head to said final runs, but now it's the penultimate run of this session, and we will get, I believe that's a V-Carb starting us off. It's not going to be Cameron Dowds. Tom 97 is going to be coming into the pit lane, so instead it's going to be, I believe that to be Lucas Baesner starting us off, as he did with the first runs in the second. He'll be wanting to improve on the lap time that's only put him 1,000th behind Tamas Kokeni and 500ths behind Jensen Rosen, but he still finds himself just under 5/10 behind Alejandro Loureiro on that pole position. So there is still lots of time to find in this lap for Baesner as he heads up Eau Rouge and Radion and comes out to the exit to the Kemmel Straights, and he opens up the DRS. Of course, there is 2 DRS straights, not quite back to back, but in between you're going to be carrying a lot of speed. Baesner then finds 400ths in that first sector, and he looks set to at least challenge for the top 10.
He certainly does, as he now makes his way down into the Brussels hairpin. Let's see what he can do for the remainder of this lap as he now makes his way into the Jackie. It's curved, run the car out wide, just make sure you don't clip the gravel on the outside as you head down into Puon. Now flat out through here, use all the track in the middle part of the corner before you snatch back to that left hand side, and then on the run into Campus Corner, down to 4th gear, get the car through the first part, try ride some of the curb on the second before you bring the car straight back out wide, and it's early on the brakes into Stavolo, down to 4th gear, now through the curb of the Paul Freya, and it's nicely done through there as well from Lucas Bays. Now flat out now as you head up through Blanchimont. It's easier to invalidate here than you think, just for the car to just maybe understeer a little bit wider than you're expecting. And then up into the bus stop chicane, easy to lock the rear brakes as you slam hard into the first part of the chicane, over the curb nicely in the second. It's a very tidy end to the lap here for Baster. Across the line, goes 4th fastest. What about his teammate, of course, Joel Marquardt? He goes 7th. Wojtek Steg is on a lap time at the moment. Largo goes 2nd. Raminguez, what can he do? He's up by a 10th. Doubts now to the top in the V-Carb. Here comes Raminguez. Can he top that? Yes, he can. What about Alejandro? What's he doing? He's down on his lap time, so he stays 4th fastest at the moment. It's Langrock now up into P3. We have JSD to the line. What can he do as he stays 12th fastest? Wasn't able to find an improvement. Jensen Rowson now across the line. He can't find an improvement either. Kokeni, of course, the man second in the standings. He goes 7th fastest. And then I think that was one of the V-Carbs moving themselves upwards. It's Wojtek Steg across the line. He goes 8th fastest. Tom 97, of course, just starting his next attempt. But all eyes now go to Joe Haddon as he is starting his next flying run. But he has a lot of traffic in his way to try and navigate over the course of these next 7 kilometres.
Yeah, which is very, very difficult for himself. But that's what happens when you mess up your first run, because then you put yourself out of sync with the rest of the field, and it's all about trying to catch back up. Some drivers wouldn't have even gone for that first run just so he can be back in contention for the second one. But Johannan decided to do so, and so he's really thrown his session under a bit of jeopardy, and I wouldn't be surprised if he comes into the pits if he doesn't improve in the second sector. He didn't improve in the first. It was a 6,000th split between himself in the first and the second runs, but somewhere he's lost all that time, and somewhere he's looking to regain it. The Williams then heading up to what will be second sector split, but he's got 2 Ferraris, 2 Alpines, and a Haas between himself and that split, so they have to be very, very careful, both not to hold him up, and he has to be very careful to avoid all of them as well, as he will come up to that split. Is he improving? He's found a 10th. I don't think that's going to be enough, though. I think he might have to back out of this lap if he wants to be ready for that final run. Of course, the longest by far on the circuit, on the calendar lap that we are going to have. It's 140 that they'll be setting, so Johannan is going to have to fly it through it. It was taking a few... He was straight lining basically a lot of the corners on his way in last time, and he's going to have to do so again because he does commit to the lap, and it will be a 40.7, and well, he gets closer to Jensen Rosen, but still last for Hannon.
Yeah, Hannon not having a fun time of things at the moment. What about Tom 97? He's up by half a tenth in that middle sector, but he's got cars all in front of him, just about going to distract him ever so slightly. But up into the bus stop chicane, he was able to clear him just in time. But elects to dive into pit lane, potentially lost a little bit of lap time, or just messed up the braking zone ever so slightly. 3 minutes left on the clock. Yeah, I don't think Johannan's going to get back out for this one, ladies and gentlemen. So he will be starting last so far of the timed runners. The drivers we have had set a lap time so far. Still around about 7/10 separating first from 17th. But this time it's Raminguez who tops the times. Of course, Lorero there, Joseph, wasn't able to find any more of an improvement. Not sure if he invalidated that, but I don't think he did. But just potentially made a mistake somewhere. So it shows that even in the midpoint of the session, because you're pushing so hard trying to get the lap time you know is there, you can make those mistakes quite early on when the pressure is relatively off you at the moment.
You certainly can. I mean, it's all going to be down to these final runs, right? So it's going to have to be very, very careful for these drivers. Johannan might make it round here, you know, but I'm not sure whether he's going to be able to make it out of the pit lane So it might just have to be a case of him starting from the back, which looks like the place which Luca Rapassa will be starting from as well. Pasquale Ranieri and Liam Stevens retired from the session earlier on, so they won't be setting a lap time. They'll be starting from guaranteed last place unless there's a disqualification. But then Johanan and Luca Rapassa will be slightly ahead of them on the ninth row of this grid. We have drivers out on circuit. It is not going to be, as it has always been the case, it's not going to be Luca Rapassa this time. It will be Alejandro Loureiro, who will be the first driver to take to the Spa-Francorchamps circuit for the final runs. And, well, everyone going to try and fly out very quickly. Some of them are leaving it very, very close to the end. Of course, we're not going to see Johanan or Luca Rapassa in any realistic time frame. I also think that it might be very, very close with Tom 97 right at the back of the field as he's just heading through the Kemmel Straight now. Everybody else has managed to make it at least through the first sector, and we've got 1 minute 58 to go, so that if they want adequate preparations, it's now or never, really. To start to really warm those tyres up, because they want to be prepared for that final run. They don't want to have to feel they have to push too hard, and that's what I think going out late. It can have benefits, but that's one of the negatives as well. And, well, the two V-carbs are the last two cars on the circuit. Although Johanan is coming out of the pit lane, but with 1 minute 35 left, that will be it. And he's just going to have to avoid getting in anybody's way.
Yes, he certainly will. Unfortunate there for Joe. He gave it a valiant effort, just wasn't able to get around quick enough. But the final runs are now going to be commencing, and we're going to start off here with the man who's currently on provisional pole before Ramingo has took it away. It's Alejandro Loureiro as he now makes his way through the source. It seemed like a good rotation there through turn one. Lovely amount of exit curb use as well, as Joe just keeps out of the way on the right-hand side there and makes sure he doesn't get in anybody's trouble. So as he now makes his way up the hill and now going to be down the Le Kemmel Straight and into Le Con. What are we looking like in the first sector here, Alejandro? Are we up or are we down? And we're up by just over half a tenth of a second. Needs slightly more through the rest of the lap as he now makes his way through Malmedy and now into the Bruxelles hairpin for the Kick Sauber drive. Late on the brakes, takes a wide out-swinging line to bring the car all the way to the left and then flick it to the right just before we hit the Jackie X curve. I think Johanan actually gave quite a nice slipstream to Van Erven, so he's certainly someone to look out for as well as we now make our way through Pouhon with Alejandro and now into Campus Corner. Late on the brakes, down to fourth gear, ride that curb as much as you can. Rapassa joins back, he'll start from the back and just a little bit wide on the exit of Campus Corner there for Loureiro. That might cost him dearly in this middle sector, but it has not. He's up by 2.5 tenths of a second. Could we potentially see the first driver dip into the 1 minute 39s? But of course, we still have to wait to reply from everybody else behind him. And it's going to be Aaron Raminguez, of course, the one we really need to look out for in his battle for pole position. So here we are then with Alejandro through the bus stop chicane. That looked nice until that little slide out the corner. Is it still enough for an improvement? It is! And he's still the first driver into the 1 minute 39s. Here comes Van Erven. What can he do? He goes fourth fast. It's a lovely slipstream was given to him there. And Raminguez is up by half a tenth in the middle. It might not be over yet for pole.
Not quite yet, and Aaron Raminguez will come to the line, and it will be a 40.069, so not quite into the 39s and not quite up with Loureiro. What can, who's this coming to the line? Dennis Langrock taking third place. Race Imtiaz slotting himself in fourth. There was so much track evolution in the final runs that it's allowed the opportunity for everybody to pick up time. JST moves up to fifth. I'm watching Francesco Largo, who looks like if he can find 0.08 of a second in this final sector, which is very possible, he's going to take the chance to take pole position. Right ahead of him, that's going to be a Haas driver straight into the wall. Largo gets a 40.1, so a disappointing final sector from himself. Cameron Dowd is improving, likely not by enough. Certainly not by enough now, and that will be 7th place. Tom 97, the final driver to the line to finish off our session, and he will make the improvement by 1.5 up to 15th place. But that is going to be it for your qualifying session. We've had 18 or 17 drivers even set a lap time, and it is the two Spaniards who sit on top. Alejandro leading Aaron.
And it's going to be back-to-back pole positions for Alejandro Loureiro, and it was a very, very dominant one indeed. I think we are going to get a lobby restart here, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, we are. We are going to have a lobby restart for that 5-place grid penalty for Ryan Modler. Unfortunately, you weren't able to get the standings up there to show you your grid, but I will do that now. Just before we head to a quick intermission while we get this lobby turned around. And it's actually raining for the race. Oh, that would have been so good if we had some rain. But unfortunately, we're not going to, of course, with the lobby restarts, we're not going to have the same weather as normal. But your grid was, it was Loureiro from Raminguez. The Spaniards take up the front row just like they did in Zandvoort. It was just Zorzo instead of Loureiro. Then Lanrock, Imtiaz, Largo, SD, Dowds, Vanner, Van Steck, Kokeni, Marquardt, Basner, Rasenberg, and Tom97. Of course, they would be behind Modler if that penalty was not applied. So it will be 10th for Modler, then Kokeni, Marquardt, Basner, Rasenberg, Tom97, Rosen, Johannan, Rapassa, and then Ranieri and Stevens. But we are going to have that lobby restart, so stick around, folks, and we shall see who will come out on top. Could Alejandro finally convert a pole into a race win? Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Ardennes Forest, where today we have 7 kilometers of track distance, 4.352 miles of this lovely racing facility to bring you today in 19 corners, of course. We are at Spa, and it is one of the most iconic circuits in the world, and we of course have 2 DRS zones, down the main straight and down the Kemmel straight, with a lot of elevation change as well. Not many drivers run at high downforce around here. It's very much all about the low downforce for those long straights. That middle sector is a sector where you pretty much wing it through and hope the car sticks through the corners. But as we head to the race screen, what would have been a wet race is now going to be a dry one. But Joseph, it's looking like an interesting race ahead. Who do you think is going to win this one?
Well, I mean, it's hard to look past the 2 Spaniards at the top. It's hard to look past Alejandro. It's hard to look past Aaron. And they're looking very, very quick. But we are heading to the 5 red lights here in Belgium to kick off another race in Tier 2, and the action's underway. Alejandro Loureiro does get off to a good start. Aaron Ramirez moves across to cover off the inside line. JST goes briefly off of the circuit. He's just been squeezed there, but Loureiro does continue to lead, and it is Ramirez in second place. Langrock and Largo will be side by side. Are they going to back out heading up to Eau Rouge? It looks like they are indeed. For Largo does not quite have the overspeed to be able to pull alongside. Race Imtiaz and JST chasing Matthias van Erven, looking for a move on the German as they head up through the Kemmel Straight. And is he going to have the overspeed to be able to pull alongside? Yes, he is. Is he going to be able to get ahead? We'll wait and see. He's going to have a go, and that's an end plate going off from somebody right ahead of them. Not quite sure who that was. It looks like it was Francesco Largo who's missing part of his front wing, so drama in the early stages.
Certainly is drama in the early stages, and that's someone I think round in the background. I think it's Ranieri. Yes, it is Ranieri who's unfortunately gone around. He started from the back, and unfortunately for him, he has gone around. So let's have a look at what tyres everybody is using. Van Erven, ST, as they now squabble it out still through Pouon. They're on the mediums alongside Basner and Nico Rasenberg, who's dropped a few places off the start. ST with a lovely move around the outside of Van Erven through Campus Corner. And everybody else on the hard compound of tyre. Of course, 22 laps this evening. Not many laps, but of course, with such a long circuit, it is going to take its time. And Rapassa has just been overtaken by Rasenberg. So Nico certainly does have a driver of high caliber ticked off his list. His next driver will be Joe Hannon. Of course, making that step up from Tier 4. It was never going to be an easy task for the German driver, but let's see what he can do as Wojtek Steg and Cameron Dowds now squabble over 8th place.
They certainly do. Heading into the first corner, Wojtek Steg is going to look to the outside line, and he's going to try and be later on the brakes of Matthias van Erven. Not even Cameron Dowds, who smartly backed out of that fight, but tries to remain in it for the time being. JST ahead of Francesco Largo, who's really struggling in the slower speed corners. Pasquale Ranieri into the pit lane, our first DNF of the day. He's not even done 2 laps, including qualifying, and he's decided to call it quits. Looking back up, it is going to be Matthias van Erven and Wojtek Steg, who remain side by side. Van Erven much later on the brakes, holding on to 7th place for the time being, but Steg and Dowd looking very racy.
Yeah, they certainly do look very racy in this opening part. As actually Dowds was potentially looking for an attack on the kick cell. But talk about making an attack. Rasenberg has got past 3 cars since we last went on board with the Red Bull. He's certainly making some moves up through the field, utilising those medium compound of tyres, as he now moves himself up into 13th place. So a lovely, it was an abysmal start to the opening lap, but just a lap later, he's already fighting his way back up through the field as he's now looking to attack the man second in the standings, Tamás Kogeni, as we'll see what he can deliver against the Hungarian. Lucas Basler just in front. Of course, he's in a medium sandwich at the moment, the Mercedes driver. And for Tamás, he's going to be looking to just try and hold off Rasenberg as much as he can, while he waits for those hard tyres to slightly shift and the pendulum to change into Heath's compound's favour.
Yeah, it's going to be a long wait for himself, of course, with the 22 laps of Belgium being contested with medium and hard compound tyres. Soft compound tyres are pretty much ineffectual around here, unless you're doing about 4 laps, I'd say. But the mediums and the hards, they can last, of course, longer than that, because that's the nature of those tyres as well. And, well, if we have a look at the potential strategies, of course, most of the drivers are on the hard compound tyres. So they're going harder to softer and trying to see what they can do in terms of their stints. It's kind of going to be likely a lap 13 earliest pit stop for the majority of them. The mediums will last up to 6 laps as Van Erven gets very close to the back of Largo and becomes the latest driver to get through on the Red Bull man. He moves up to 6th place and tries to make the most of those medium tyres while he still can. That's why you'll see JST and Matthias Van Erven going aggressively for moves, because they've only got about 4 more laps of life left in them.
Yeah, they haven't got long left in that tyre. Of course, a long circuit as well, especially in that middle sector. The tyre does degrade a lot due to the nature of some of them, especially Puon. That really does hurt that right-hand side of the car, where it's just having so much load put underneath it, where it's going through such a high-speed corner for such a long time. And it really puts pay to those mediums at the very least. So as we now make our way onto the brakes and through Stavolo with Liam Stevens, who was having a scrap with Joe Hannon not too long ago. At the front of the field, Guerrero has been able to keep Ramirez at arm's bay. He's been able to keep him around about 4 to 5 tenths of a second behind. And he's now just potentially looking on just keeping this position for now. But of course, the closer we get to the pit stop window for these drivers, it has Kokeni and Rasenberg going side by side. And Rasenberg, unfortunately, sent into a little bit of a half spin. This might now allow Joel Marquardt to be able to get the move done up into the source. But no, the Aston just backs out of it, doesn't want to do anything silly, and just will allow the Red Bull to keep its place. But what I was saying there is that once we get closer to that pit window for these hard runners here, Joseph, Ramirez will want to make his move and steal that track position away.
Yes, he's going to be wanting to make the move up to that first place some point soon. But of course, it's not quite on at the moment on Loureiro. Not quite got the overspeed, because everybody will have similar setups around here. We've done enough races around Belgium now on F125 that everyone sort of knows the score, and so they'll all be pretty much matching setup wise, and so they won't be gaining or losing too much down the straights. There's a couple of moves going on further down the field. Liam Stevens, a late lunge on Tom 97 to make the position up and up into 16th place as he tries to fight his way through the field. But he and Rapassa, I mean, they've made a few positions up early on, but it hasn't quite been the progress they would have wanted because, of course, the likes of the likes of Joe Hannon clearly not at the races here today, and Rapassa and Stevens are, well, they were expecting to be a little bit more on it, but they were doing wet practice whilst they weren't in qualifying. They took the gamble, and then, of course, the lobby restart caused by Ryan Modler's 5-place grid penalty means that the practice was basically pointless at the end of the day, despite the fact that I think the majority of these drivers on this field actually wanted to have the wet to dry race that we were in for. But no, we get beautiful blue skies in the Ardennes Forest. And as we cross over to lap number 5, we might have a late lunge into the final corner. Wojtek Steg on Francesco Largo, trying to really compound the misery on the Red Bulls day. And it's unfortunate because Largo was looking quick. He's just missing that front wing end plate, which could have a huge, huge effect as he tries to move across, tries to defend from Steg, but there's only so much you can do before the Kick-Sauber can make his way through.
Yeah, nicely done there from Steg, moving himself up into 7th place in this Grand Prix. And yeah, Largo, it was just that unfortunate contact on the opening tour, which has really hurt him. It don't hurt him much through this first and final sector. It's just through that middle part of the lap, especially through Puon, where it just really does affect him. As you can see now, 3 wide as we head into Lecom, as Largo, Dowds and also Steg, 2 go off the road. Steg into a half slide, somehow keeps the car facing in the right direction. Now tyre hooking with Cameron Dowds as we head down into the Bruxelles hairpin. Who's going to come out on top here? It is going to be Cameron Dowds, who made it very aggressively to the inside for that 3 wide. Was only able to pick 1 car off, but Steg going off the road as well. As for Francesco Largo, he's off and into the wall, and we have a safety car, and that could be the saviour that the medium runners needed.
Could be. It certainly could be. But it means they'll have to stretch those hards very, very long. So a 2-stop strategy might be being weighed up here, going for the hards, and then maybe a short burst on the softs at the end. Or they might even consider staying out. We'll see, as leaving the session is Francesco Largo, who's, of course, out of this race. Unfortunate for the Red Bull, whose day just went from good to bad to worse. And, well, it just seemed like not his day. It's a pretty good day, though, for the likes of Dennis Langrock. Not expecting to be up in the top 3, I would imagine. and the fact that he is there, quite impressive as well. And well, he'll be hoping to take that through towards the end of this race. Of course, we are 5 laps in. We have 17 laps to go, and we'll see if anybody does decide to dive into the pit lane on this occasion. I'd imagine all the hard runners will stay out, but the medium runners, well, this is a debate. JST comes in. Does Matthias van Erven? Yes, indeed he does. Lucas Beisner. And does Nico Rassenberg make it 4 for 4? Yes, indeed he does. So they're going to make the switch over to the hards. And, well, those tyres are going to be screaming at the end of the race. But if they manage them right, this is a great call.
It certainly is a fantastic call. If they are able to pull this one off. Steg on the softs. Same with Tom 97 as well. I mean, we said about the 2-stop and a late soft sprint, but we were expecting that a little bit later on in the race. Not now.
It is very interesting. I mean, I don't really understand that move. Maybe they just... I think what they're going to do is they're just going to try and avoid the hards as much as possible. They know they're going to be at the back of the back of the grid anyway. So they're just trying to... And they know that they have to stretch those hards. They know that the hards will probably last maximum 15, 16 laps. So if they can do 1 or 2 laps on softs, come into the pit lane whilst the safety car is still out, get those tyres back on, like the new hards on, and then catch up to the safety car because, of course, it's the longest circuit on the calendar, then that can give them just a little bit of an edge. So I don't mind the call. It's interesting from Steg to see it because he was in the mid-pack and he'll be dropping down 3 positions. He'll be volunteering to be moved back behind Beisner, Rassenberg and Stevens, as well as Tom 97 or Joe Hannon. That's the only reason I can see, at least for it, for those drivers to be on those softs now. And we'll see whether I'm actually right or whether I've completely gotten it wrong.
Well, Joseph, you are an engineer. You are someone who has dabbled in the strategic department a lot more than me. I mean, it does make sense that they will do that. They were originally on the hards, so they can just use this lap on the soft, slap on that extra set and go all the way to the end and effectively save themselves a pit stop. They will not have to worry about coming in again. So if everyone stays within the DRS train like we saw in that opening few laps of this race, they could have hit a master stroke here and could be in for some very good positions, especially the likes of Tom 97 and Joe Hannon, who could eventually potentially pick up some points in this one after what has seemed like quite a doom and gloom kind of race so far for Joe Hannon at the least. But let's see with Wojtek Steg, will he come into the pit lane to switch onto those nice fresh hards? Yes, he does. It is correct from Mr. Joseph Black. The engineering certainly has worked, Joseph. The experience has come in handy because you have predicted what they're going to do to an absolute T.
Yeah, and I think they would have had a debate with themselves as well as to whether they go one more lap. But I think at the end of the day, I do think that one lap does make a lot more sense because they don't want to be, as Wojtek Steg goes on a worn set of hards, and he's really whiffed it here today.
Oh, Steg.
But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how that pays off. Of course, Steg's tyres will be dead by the end of the race. I mean, you won't be able to do 20 laps on a set of the hard compound tyres, I would imagine, unless you really protect them. So he's very much fluffed his lines here, has Wojtek Steg. It's going to be a rough ride until the end. Also, not 100% sure what has happened with Wojtek Steg in terms. Oh, they started on the hard, so he's either selected the same tyres as he was on intentionally, and he's going to try and stretch them because he doesn't have another set, or he's just really made a mistake, and we'll be seeing him into the pit lane again.
I think what we have just seen here from Wojtek Steg is he didn't choose the harder tyre preference, because of course it instantly puts you on a fresh set if you select the hards or the mediums, if you have a fresh set left in the storage, if you have it left in store. So for Wojtek Steg, he obviously chose balance, where you only get 1 set of the hard compound and 2 sets of the mediums. And that's now what shot him in the foot. Whereas Tom 97 and Joe Hannon instantly went for that harder option to get those 2 sets, and they can go to the very end. So for Wojtek Steg, unfortunately for him, I do see him having to make another pit stop, and he's just wasted some valuable track position for nothing.
Certainly has, and he's not going to have the opportunity to make up for his mistake with the safety car coming in on lap number 7. What will tick over to lap number 8 here today. And yeah, it's going to be interesting. There was also another reason why they did do that soft switch, and that is so they could use that one more tyre compound, so they could actually legally get to the end of the race. So multiple reasons why that soft choice was a good choice, and we'll see how the progress of Tom 97 and Johanan is, as well as Steg, who's going to be the most fascinating but potentially the most unsuccessful of the three. Loureiro will take us back to Green Flag Racing then, the FBR driver heading around to the bus stop chicane, and he will be leading Aaron Raminguez away. Dennis Langrock is in third and Race Imtiaz right behind, but now Loureiro, is he going to be taking us straight to Green Flag Racing? Indeed he is, and it looks like Dennis Langrock might have been caught out just a little bit for that third place. Race Imtiaz is going to chase him into the first corner. Langrock goes defensive. Imtiaz is going to go pretty conservative in terms of a move, trying to get the switch back, trying to go earlier on the brakes, get the switch back and go for the inside line into the next corner. It's not quite worked, but Langrock looks like he's much slower than Imtiaz here, so I'd imagine we'll be seeing the Alpine at least go for a lunge into the next braking zone.
We certainly could, as we can now see. Look at that gap slowly coming down. It's now a 10th of a second. It's Langrock who defends the inside. It's Imtiaz to the outside line as we make our way into the com. Who's going to come out on top here? It's the inside. Instantly to switch over for the Imtiaz, but then he's back on the outside for Malmedy. He has to swing it around the outside, drops the car nearly, and somehow collects it and keeps the car facing in the right direction, but goes deep through the Bruxelles hairpin. But Langrock wasn't able to find a gap, and that was expertly done from the Alpine driver, but that certainly was for some very hairy stuff coming to through Malmedy. He certainly will need a change of underwear after that one, because that could have went very wrong if he was just, I would say, a couple more milliseconds later to react.
Yeah, we could be seeing another safety car out, but of course we have not. Race Imtiaz needs to make his way back into within comfortable DRS range of Aaron Raminguez, so he needs to push right now and hope that his teammate is going to help him. But of course his teammates don't mean all too much, at least in WOR, just because it's sort of a necessary evil to have a teammate, and Raminguez is not doing any favours for Imtiaz here. The gap 1.4 seconds between second and third place. Luca Rapassa gets through on Joel Marquardt up into 8th, and he continues his charge through the field, and that safety car has really lit his charge up. Liam Stevens came into the pit lane, but Luca Rapassa stayed out on the circuit and continued on, and well, Liam started on the hards, switched over to a new set of hards, so he's going to have to go again, so probably should have done the hard, soft, hard, but now he's going to have to live with the consequences. Yeah,
he certainly will have to live with them as we're on board with Rapaz. But actually further up, Dowds is now over the back of Langrock, and he's just falling backwards at the moment. Is the Haas driver as Dowds tried to thread the needle between Imtiaz and Langrock. There was a little bit of contact made, but all three cars come out unscathed, and Dowds does get the move done on the pair of them. He looked for the middle, and he was able to get that switch around the outside of Imtiaz as Langrock backed out. And it is now Dowds up into third, but this is absolutely what the two Spaniards at the front of the field will be begging for, as these guys to fight, because they can slowly see themselves clear. They can shoot off into the horizons, and then they can have their own their own little battle for that race lead. But for Cameron Dowds, he's going to try his best to slowly bring this one back, because he's already gapped Imtiaz by 7/10 of a second. But I think that move might potentially come under a little bit of scrutiny in the stewards' room.
Yeah, very potentially. But yeah, I mean, Cameron Dowds needs to push now to get back into DRS range, or it will be a Spaniard who wins this race. That is the case right here, right now, as we're going to tick over to double figures in laps, with Dowds 1.4 behind Raminguez and Loureiro. The DRS advantage is so strong around this Spa circuit that he needs it, and he has not got it on this occasion. JST and Jensen Rosen fighting into the final corner, and out of it, it will be DRS for both of them. So they will be neutralised down to the first corner, and Rosen later on the brakes on the inside line is going to try and get through, but JST still keeping a tyre in, keeping that Ferrari alongside that Haas, but on the exit, because of the fact that he actually did end up being the one later on the brakes around the outside. He was unable to get the exit that he would have wanted, and so sits in behind the Haas. Is the Kemmel Straight going to see a change in fortunes, though, for the German? He will pull just about alongside, keeping a tyre in, and force him to defend. And Matthias van Erven, in the meantime, makes his way through on the two of them and up into 10th place. So what a move that is, around the outside, seeking the opportunity. And, well, he lit the stamp and very much sent it.
He certainly did indeed. That was amazing there from Van Erven, just how much straight line speed he had, as Liam Stevens has now got past him, Jensen Rowson, and he moves himself up into 12th place. A little wobble out of Jackie X curve, but it does not matter too much. But it was absolutely spectacular there from Stevens to be able to pull that one off on the inside. Just absolutely sent it. Saw that Rowson was compromised, and he was able to move himself up into 12th place. Dowd still not able to catch up. I don't think he will catch up to that top two, because he used a lot of battery on that previous tour to try and get as close as he did. But unfortunately, he's just falling short for now, and that slipstream now up into Blochemont will be helping Ramirez keep in touching distance of Alejandro and extend that gap over Dowd. So we might have just seen the top two break away when they needed to, as Beza now gets past Rosen, who is really struggling at the moment. As soon as that Haas driver wasn't able to get that move done on SD, his feathers might have been ruffled, as we see Rasenberg now through as well. Is next on the list going to be Tom 97.
Yeah, looking at Jensen Rosen now with a lot of intrigue, and he'll be on the inside line into the first corner. Can he make his way through? Not quite. Jensen Rosen is going to break later, but then Tom 97 with the exit out of the source is able to move his way up to 15th place. So Rosen all the way down to 16th, and is falling like a stone, unfortunately, here today in Belgium. Liam Stevens chasing JST and will be the latest driver to make an overtake with the DRS. Makes it nice and simply, and well, he's doing his charge up the field in a very unconventional way, and I'm still not sure about the strategy, but he's gained 9, almost the biggest winner of the day, just behind Luca Rapace, who of course started back with him, and is now up to 8th place with a 10th place gain on his race start. So the McLaren are doing very well today, but the Mercedes doing almost equally as well, and they will continue their charge through the field. To keep an eye on them, because when you get the momentum started, it's almost difficult to stop that momentum flowing through. And Liam Stevens now up to 2nd place in the pack of drivers who came into the pits under the safety car, and he's in a great position now to really try and do something with this race if he lucks out with the next pit stop that he is forced to do.
Yes, it's all down to that, how Liam Stevens can manage, but we can see a little bit of grey skies coming over this circuit. It has certainly rolled in a lot over the course of the previous few laps. It was blue skies heading for Rouge and Radion in the opening few tours. It's now a little bit overcast in that horizon, so could we potentially see something later on in this race when it comes to the weather? Of course, we can't rule anything off here in the Ardennes Forest, but we'll have to just wait and see. Cameron Dowd still 1.2 seconds behind the top two. He's just falling short when he needs to the least, and unfortunately he needs to just be able to try and break into that 1 second window. If he can do it this lap, it'll be an absolute blessing, but with Ramirez's DRS, he just hemorrhages too much time down the Kemmel Straight. Just look at that, it was 1.2 when we exited the source. It's now nearly 1.8 by the time we hit the brakes.
Yeah, big gap for the drivers, and as soon as you lose DRS, that is it. So I don't think that there'll be any fighting, at least for the top two, unless a mistake is made. I think it's almost equal for John Marquardt and the drivers below there, and JST as well, unless he's able to get back in the DRS. So it's not looking very good for the little pack of Germans that we have from 12th down to 14th place. Of course, we've got JST leading Lucas Beissner, leading Nico Berger. 12th down to 14th may well be pointless unless JST is able to get a move on at this point in time. Dowd, in the meantime, has been getting his own move on and is trying to catch up to Ramirez and Loureiro, who I think at this point in the race are just sort of, they're not resting on their laurels, but they're resting back a little bit. They're on their hind legs, they're on their haunches, just waiting for Dowd to overcook his tyres, to push himself too hard, to have no ERS to fight, and then they can really try and burst away. But I don't mind this race management here from the two Spaniards. because they're not trying to use too much. They're not taking too many risks, putting too many eggs in the pushing forward and breaking free basket. They're balancing the two as Liam Stevens, fastest lap of the race from 11th, as he chases down Matthias van Erven.
Yeah, he's just getting closer as Liam Stevens, and Dowd's all by that point it was 1 second. I think he's around about a tenth quicker than the two cars in front at the moment, but I agree with you there, Joseph. They are certainly just saving their tyres. They're not really pushing on as much as Cameron Dowds is, and really hoping he does burn those tyres out, as Van Erven is now going for that move on Joel Marquardt. He gets such a slingshot of a launch, does Van Erven, up the top of the hill, and he's just able to breeze by anybody. He's just got that much straight line speed at the moment in that Williams, so it's worked out nicely so far. He's up to 9th. Stevens then follows him through. It feels like a repeat of what was only a few laps ago when they were getting past Esti and Rowson. And for Liam Stevens, he's up to P10. And these two, of course, on those fresher hard compounded tyres, is working into their favours. It's a 5-lap difference. But that 5 laps is oh so crucial when it comes to the WOR. And they have so much more superior grip than the cars around them.
Yes, certainly do, and that will be the case for the next few laps at the very least, until the crossover period we'll get to, which is very, very soon. Of course, as I said at the start of the race, they would have been expecting to be coming in around lap 13. Of course, they may well have that stint extended because of that safety car, so expect the drivers to come in lap 14, 15, something like that. Although, it does look as though it may well be a little bit murky above the circuit, a little bit wet. Starting just a little bit of a downpour that might be brewing on this circuit. Nothing quite yet, but that's certainly something to keep an eye on. There's now the gap between Raminguez and Cameron Dowds at 1.3, and that might be Jensen Rosen out of the race. Indeed it is, on lap number 14 of this race. Just as the driver ahead of him, Wojtek Steg, takes the fastest lap.
Yep, Steg taking that fastest lap. Of course, he's down at the bottom of the field after, of course, Rowson's retirement. I'm going to see what he can maybe deliver, of course, but Steg, it's unfortunate for him having that strategy blunder, and he's still down in 17th place, and I don't think he's really going to find too much time at all. We're still on board. We have Van Erven as he now makes his way through the Bruxelles hairpin, trying to hunt down now Luca Rapassa in front of him. Dowds, that charge is somewhat halted. If anything, he's now starting to lose time to the cars in front. So I think for him, he's just used too much of that tyre, and he's going to have to just call it a day and potentially just start to save a little bit more on that tyre front. And for Ray Imtiaz, he could potentially pounce on the V-carb in front of him. We're on lap 14 of 22 now, of course. We have, of course, passed half race distance. We are really getting into crunch time. I say Dowds' charge has halted through Stavolo and curved to Paul Freyer. He's had an absolute monstrous run, and I think potentially out of the source this time around, we could see the V-carb just snaggle some DRS away from Raminguez.
Just about, I would imagine, would be the case, if any. And
he's in.
He is going to be in it, into the pit lane, in fact, is what I meant to say. And Cameron Dowds diving in on lap 15, so making all that progress then. He's going to box, he's going to bail, and he's going to make the switch onto a set of mediums to the end of this race. There'll be 7 laps to go for Dowds and Steg, who both come into the pits on this lap. Ruka Rapassa does the same. And yeah, that is going to be that in terms of pit stops for these drivers. We'll see where they come out, as the undercut is going to be valuable. I wouldn't be surprised Cameron Dowds is leading this race, or at least leading the hard runners coming in now, right at the very end, or at least when they come into the pit lane, which you would expect would be the next couple of laps for the majority of them. Yeah,
it certainly will be. We could see Van Erven now hit that race lead. I'm not sure. Yeah, he started on the medium tyres, I think. Did Van Erven. It was both him and Esti, so he will take that race lead. And for Matthias Van Erven, what a turnaround it could be for him this evening if he's able to pull that one off. But we have, of course, Liam Stevens right behind him. Is he going to look for the move into pit one? That would be audacious. But no, just didn't have the closing speed. And look how much that dirty air hurt Liam Stevens there. It just whitewashed the car out wide through Puon, and then put him under some pressure from JSC behind him. So Stevens, if he gets too close, it just removes that aerodynamics efficiency from the Mercedes. and he just needs to time it right to get that move done now on to, of course, Van Erven in front. At the front of the field, it's still Loureiro leading the way from Raminguez, but the question is, when do they come into pit lane? Is it now? Do they react? Yes, they do. They do react, and into the pit lane comes Loureiro and Raminguez. Will we see MTS, of course, will not follow. Neither does Lanrock, Modeler, or Kokeni. They stay out for an extra lap, hoping the undercut and the DRS works into their hands.
Yeah, very much hoping so. And, well, out of the pit lane then will come the likes of Loureiro and Raminguez. And those two will be coming out of the pit lane as Dowds comes through the first corner. So Cameron Dowds is going to lead this race now, or going to lead at least this little pack of drivers and Luca Rapace. Where is he going to come out in the rest of them? Well, he's going to be right behind Raminguez with the run out of the source to maybe make an overtake, but not quite yet. Cameron Dowds, 1.4 second gap over Alejandro Loureiro, and you can pick up from that, because Loureiro's been in clean air, as has Dowds, that the undercut is worth about 2.8 seconds, so that is a huge, huge margin. And, well, if they could keep those medium tyres alive, it was a much better idea to undercut.
It is certainly the better idea to undercut. So for the likes of Kokeni, Modeler, Intiaz and Lamrock, they might have just seen their chances of a race victory gone down the drain. They should have followed potentially Cameron Dowds in. Or just looking to extend this tyre as much as they possibly can, to then get a really big tyre deficit delta to the cars around them. Or could there be some rain? Because it is certainly getting a lot more doom and gloom up in the sky. Is there going to be something to add an extra twist to this tail? And talking about adding an extra twist to this tail, I could have sworn I just saw a spot of rain. Yes, it is raining. It is raining here, Joseph. But the question is, will it rain enough that the drivers have to switch over to the intermediates? Has Lanrock and Imtiaz pulled off a masterstroke?
I told you it was going to rain, and indeed it is now starting to just drip on this circuit. With the way that this one is, as we see Johanan into the pit lane, it would be interesting to see what he switches over to. With the way that this game is, with the way this circuit is on this game, I wouldn't be surprised to see a downpour within the next couple of laps. I really wouldn't. Johanan in for intermediate tyres. Good, because that's a marker that we can compare with the rest of these drivers. And we'll see what he does as Ryan Modeler makes his way up to P2. Tamas Kokeni tries to get himself involved, but Race Imtiaz just later on the brakes manages to stay ahead in third place at the moment. But we get a great marker with Johanan. And, well, what we're picking up as he comes straight out of the pit lane is that it's not quite time yet, but it may well be soon. So watch that gap between himself and Rapace. If it starts coming down, it's time.
Yes, that certainly is now going to be the big old question. And look how heavy it has started to rain. It was only spits around this point just a lap ago when Rapace was coming for it. And now for Kokeni, it really is starting to tip down onto this circuit. Still not too heavy, but it is something that could certainly dampen this track within a couple of laps. We could have a flurry of cars into pit lane. That does not help, of course, the likes of Liam Stevens or even a JST in this one, who tried that different strategy, tried to carve their way through the field, and they're going to be just held off ever so slightly because they'll have to double stack. Or do they stay coming a lap early than what the rain potentially expects as we hit the brakes? And we see Lanrock into pit lane, the same as Kokeni. They've gone a little bit earlier than the rest. I wouldn't say it's time for intermediates just yet, but by the time we finish this lap, it certainly well could be.
7 kilometres of circuit is the difference between lap number 18 and lap number 19. 7 kilometres of difference will be the difference between Dennis Langrock coming into the pit lane and Ryan Modeler diving in. So it's very much at this point, you don't want to hit it too early. You don't want to hit it too late, but you are forced to because of the configuration of this track. And I think that Dennis Langrock and Tamas Kokeni, Mark Ward, Tom 97 and Wojtek Steg have all gone for just protecting from the worst case scenario, which is exactly what they've done. Alejandro Loureiro through on Cameron Dowds as well. We'll see the gaps coming down, I would imagine, as soon as those drivers get those tyres warmed up. 18 of 22. We will get those intermediates being the quicker tyre at some point, but when will that point come? Will it be lap 18 now, or will it'd be just a couple of moments' time, and just having a look at that Langrock gap, it's about even.
Yeah, I think it's going to be time ever so shortly. You could start to see as we're on board with Langrock, the rain actually hitting the circuit. That is a key switching opportunity. This is a yellow flag, and it's Johannan. He's unfortunately retired, and it's brought out a virtual safety car, and that has just completely ruined that battle between Langrock and Modler. Unless it comes in extremely quickly, that 1 lap extra might have just given Ryan Modler a race victory, and his second race victory of the season.
Well, have done, because now they get not a free pit stop, but a very, very cheap pit stop. And Dennis Langrock is currently, if you look at the gaps between the drivers, he is currently 20.6 seconds off of Ryan Modler. That is about what a normal pit stop would be, as into the pits comes the Ferrari. But of course, it's going to be a little bit less of a split as the DRS is re-enabled. We are going back to green flag racing. This is going to be very close. Alejandro Loureiro will continue on, as will Dowds, Raminguez and Rapassa. Dennis Langrock, he's heading through the bus stop chicane. Where is he going to stack up with the rest of this pack, who just dived in to the pit lane for an intermediate size? Modler's coming out of the lane now. He's going to get the power down as quickly as he can, and he will be ahead of Dennis Langrock, who will make his way into second place. Is he going to be close enough to challenge the Ferrari? No, but he will be ahead of Race Imtiaz quite comfortably, and this is his opportunity more than ever to attack, whilst Modler's tyres are still icy cold.
Yes, it certainly is. This is the opportunity. It feels like Monza all over again, where we have drivers staying out in the slicks, drivers on the intermediates in the latter stages of this race. But surely those intermediates will just overcome them. They don't have the gap like Zorzo did back then in the early rounds of the season. They don't have that time deficit to the rest of the field, and they're unfortunately going to see that gap just falter away. You can see, look at that, 3.8, 3.7. They're finding time at every given opportunity. They tried to stay out on these mediums, but it just will not work. This track as well, there's too many corners, so you lose too much time, especially through Pouon and into Campus Corner. And for Dennis Langrock, I think a virtual safety car might have just robbed him of his first victory of the season. And I want to say the German's first Tier 2 victory of his career.
It's going to be very, very interesting now to see. Well, of course, those drivers who stayed out on the mediums have made the wrong decision. That is clear as day. But they will try and stay out to the remainder of this race. They will not be coming into the pit lane. If they do, well, then that's just a massive, massive strategic mess up that they're going to try and avoid. But they want to stay out. They want to maintain that gap as long as they possibly can, whilst those tyres are still not that dead. But Luca Rapassa having a wide moment in the final corner, and that has allowed Ryan Modler to pull alongside and ahead. And the intermediate runners are starting to make a charge. The gamble has not paid off for the two Spaniards, or Cameron Dowds or Rapassa, as that's a huge slide for Dowds into the first corner. It's icy out there now, and Modler is up into second place. Dennis Langrock fights his way through into third, and now they both set their sights on Alejandro Loureiro for this race lead. Langrock 4/10 back on Ryan Modler, though. He's got different ideas, and the ideas that he's got in his head is to be the first one through on the kick Sauber. Can he get close enough to Modler? The answer is no, and I'd imagine Modler will fight his way through within this little segment of corners. So it'll be Modler through on Loureiro, Langrock to follow. Is he going to be held up just a bit by the kick Sauber? Just a little bit, not enough to have a real impact. But as the medium runners start to fall down the field, the action right at the very top starts to spice up, and we've got now two Germans fighting for the lead here in Belgium.
We certainly do, and it might be two Germans and an Englishman of Race Imtiaz potentially joining the party in this one. It just, of course, looks to get closer to Dennis Langrock, but it certainly is going to be all about the Germans. It was the fight between the two Spaniards a little bit earlier on, and now those Spaniards have unfortunately fallen to the high side. They've fallen away thanks to that strategic gamble. It's not gone to their strengths, and the two Germans have taken over. Of course, for Modler, it will be a second race victory in what has been a dire season compared to last. And for Dennis Langrock, how much of a confidence boost would this be for his career? He's been so unfortunate all season long to not really be in those upper echelons. It's just not worked out in his favour. And for this race, if he's able to pull it off, he'll show he does have the capabilities. He does have the bottle. He has the kahoonies to pull off a race victory in Tier 2. And this is the all-important run, Joseph, on the penultimate lap. He still has one more if it doesn't work out. But up into Rouge Radion and down the Kemmel Straight.
With how matched these two are in straight line speed, Dennis Langrock will be desperate to get through on this lap, knowing that he will be able to defend realistically into the final lap, into the final real overtaking spot at the end of the Kemmel Straight. But Langrock is not close enough. This means that he'll have to take a gamble either to go for the last lap down the Kemmel Straight and just hope that he keeps the traction out of Le Source, Eau Rouge and Radion, or whether he's going to be able to just get through in Sector 2 or Sector 3, where overtaking is suboptimal. Langrock taking a bit too much curbing, so he's not going to be as close to Modler as he could have been out of that corner, but he's much more comfortable in the intermediate conditions than the Ferrari driver, and he will continue to fight and fight and fight until the end, knowing that these are his optimal conditions. Dennis Langrock, if anybody who knows him knows that he is a master at the wet to dry or dry to wet conditions, at the wet to dry or dry to wet races, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now from the Haas man. He is going to head through the final few corners and try and overtake Ryan Modler into the bus stop chicane if he can get the exit right. Bit of a slide, so he's not going to be as close as he would have been hoping for, a 5/10 gap between himself and Modler, and so that means that the opportunity goes begging for the bus stop, but that opens up a whole new one, either into La Source or at the end of the Kemmel Straight. Both of them are the prime overtaking opportunities and will decide this race.
It certainly will. We were on board at a little point during that of the freeway fight in the background of Raminguez, Rapassa and Dowds. They headed into the comp and they all just slid off the road. But as we start the final lap time, the lap here in Belgium, it's been a brilliant Grand Prix so far. And is it going to be Modler or is it going to be Langrock? Which one of the Germans is going to stand tall and is going to take that top step of the podium? It's 4 tenths as we make our way down now through Eau Rouge and up into Radion, and Modler just gets such a nice run out of there that I think it might just be too much for Langrock to overcome over the course of the rest of the lap. He'll use everything in his disposal. Will Dennis Langrock? Dowds pulls into pit lane for a 10-second time penalty for corner cutting. Actually didn't go into pit lane, sorry. He just went across the corner. But for Dennis Langrock, this is an all-important lap. He's staring at a potential first race victory, but he can't let that get ahead of himself. He has to just focus on getting these moves done as Stevens and Van Erven battle in the background. As that is the Williams driver making his way through. It's Van Erven who comes out on top. He's just able to stay in front of Stevens. Dowds with another 10 seconds. He's going to have an absolute magnitude of penalties, but it's all eyes to the front of the field now. Van Erven and Stevens will still rage on, but it's all about Modler and Langrock. They are the stars on this final lap. They're the stars of this show in PC Tier 2. It's a wobble for Langrock out of Campus Corner. We saw Modler get an expert run out of here on this previous tour, and he's done it again. It might just be too much for Langrock to overcome, and it is certainly seeming so. And after picking up a win in Australia due to post-race penalties, this time around, Modler will be able to celebrate it on the road. It's been a tricky season for the German, but if you told him just before Australia you'll end the season with a minimum of 2 race victories, he probably would have took your hand off. And Ryan Modler rounds the final corner. The German picks up his 2nd race victory of the season. It's a return of the old dog coming out once again. He's still alive and kicking, and Dennis Langrock will have to wait another day for his first PC Tier 2 victory, as he just falls short due to that unfortunate virtual safety car.
Yeah, bad timing for the Haas driver who thoroughly deserved the win, but Ryan Modler at the top of this field is looking very, very good, and he'll be very happy with that performance. Race Imtiaz will be happy with the podium as well, as the medium runners will slide their way to the line to finish off this session. And Matthias Van Erven 4th, 5th and 6th for the 2 Mercedes, and then Lucas Beisner, JST, Tom 97, and points for Nico Rassenberg. We have burger points here in 8th place in Belgium. and I'm not just talking about Burger King loyalty points. Nico Rassenberg will be picking up 4 points, adding to his tally, and he will be absolutely over the moon with that. Of course, Tom97 made his way from Tier 4 to Tier 2 and picked up a point as well. But yeah, that was a very good performance from the two underdogs.
Yeah, it certainly was. They're both getting points, and especially for Rasenberg on his Tier 2 debut, he'll certainly be happy with that. Of course, got lucky with the conditions, but you make your own luck. And for Rasenberg, it has certainly paid into his favour. And he picks up 4 points to his championship tally, something to be proud of. And if there was points for drifting, Rapasa, Dowds and Raminguez would certainly probably topple Zorzo's race victory, championship victory points, because they were drifting for the final 4 laps of this race. But anyway, your race results. It was a German 1-2 between Modler and Lamrock. Unfortunate for Dennis to just fall short. And for Modler, 10th to 1st. He did a last to 1st. He's done a 10th to 1st. Could he potentially get pole position at one point and do 3 for 3 in climbing 10 places on the grid to pick up a race victory? Then it's Lamrock, Imtiaz, Van Erven, Stevens, Kokeni, Beisner, Rasenberg on debut, Esti, Tom97, Marquardt, Steg, Barrero, Rapasa, Raminguez, Dowds, and then your DNFs. It was Johannen, Rausen, Largo, and Ranieri. It certainly was quite an eventful race. But as we head back to mine and Joseph's gorgeous faces, yeah, it was a very, very hectic one. Hopefully, we can hear from some of the drivers who went onto the podium, especially Lamrock. Would like to hear his views on that. But that was an absolute cracker of a race, Joseph.
Certainly was. I'm not sure whether we're going to be getting... Oh, no, we will. We can get Dennis Lamrock into the commentary box to have a chat with a driver who could potentially be a victor depending on what penalty, if there is a penalty, heading Ryan Modler's way. But P2 for Dennis Lamrock, and I will try and get him to join now. And well, it was a good race from him, and again, just about missed out, which is unfortunate on that race victory. Very much earned it, but at the end of the day, it is what it ends up being. It would be nice to catch up with Dennis, actually, because I engineered him a while ago. I engineered him at Belgium, actually. And, well, we did a bit of intermediate practice, so I would take full credit for that podium. Anyway, yeah, very good drive from himself. Surprising to see Matthias van Erven up there as well. I wouldn't normally have him pinned down as somebody to be up at the top 4, but a good performance from himself.
Yeah, it certainly was a really, really good performance from Van Erven. He's had a few of those so far this season. He's had a few standout drives where he's been quite up there, and he's just sometimes not been able to convert it. But this time around, he certainly was. And a 4th place finish, I think he will certainly be happy with. But we do have Dennis Lamrock into the waiting for interviews room. So let's take a word from the man who finished 2nd in this race. Let's bring Dennis Lamrock into the chat. Hello, Dennis. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you well.
Well,
can you hear me? Or?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you, Dennis. But
okay,
congratulations on your 2nd place. I think that's your first podium of the season. Just talk us through that one. How did things go for you?
Yeah, I'm pretty unlucky as well, because yeah, the VSC came and I lost insane time because of that. Otherwise, I would have been leader. So yeah, but really chaotic. And my engineer Arik done a good job and give me the right calls, so I'm on the podium.
Yeah, you certainly are. It was a fantastic drive from yourself and 3rd on the grid. Just talk us through that virtual safety car. I mean, of course, you were finding so much time on those medium runners through that 1st and then the beginning of that middle sector. What was going through your head as soon as you saw that virtual safety car pop onto your screen?
Yeah, I thought kind of it was over because I thought it's going to be longer. So I thought I'm kind of cooked and gonna be in the midfield now. But yeah, then it ended kind of soon. So I got kind of lucky as well there. So yeah, I got P2 then behind Ryan, and yeah, we could easily overtake them. They were not fighting too much. I was kind of scared overtaking them because I knew when I overtake some people in WR, sometimes it's not going good. So yeah, this time it was really good. Had a nice fight with Ryan. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a very nice fight all the way to the end between you. Just fell short, unfortunately. Just how difficult were those conditions to manage? Of course, you saw the rain coming down. Did you box that lap earlier than the others, thinking, of course, the fact that if I go early, this lap it will potentially become wet enough for those intermediates and you'll be on the right tyre, and that time you lost, you'll find back instantly.
Yeah, so, like the telemetry was saying, I would have been like around 4 seconds in front of them, or 3 seconds. So yeah, it would be kind of insane if there would be no VC. Yeah, but it is what it is. We done the best out of it. So yeah, and yeah, I kind of like the rain conditions. Enjoy driving in it. Also, last time in PSGL was also raining, so yeah, we had kind of practice for it. So yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, that experience did come in handy. And one more from me, Dennis, before I pass you over to Joseph. Just, of course, that's your first podium of the season. Just how much of a morale boost does this give you to end this final 2 rounds of the season of Brazil and Silverstone on a high?
Yeah, it was good. We had much chaos, much up and downs this season. Also in Jeddah, I would have nearly had the win, and then we had a big crash. So yeah, this time was a lot of up and downs, but yeah, finally we got a podium now, and hopefully next race as well. So we keep pushing.
Yeah, hopefully you do. And Joseph, over to you for your questions for Dennis.
Well, it's good to speak to you, Dennis. It's been 6 or 7 months since we
around 6, 7, yeah.
Engineered for a while, but yeah, it's been really good to see the progress. I'd say you've probably been the most improved driver of Tier 2 this season. I mean, you've been pretty consistent all season. This has been your sixth points finish. If you finish in the points in Brazil, it'll end up being your 7th one. But what are the aims for season 23? Of course, looking forward to more improvement, but I mean, just the title is the title in your thoughts?
Yeah, of course, it's in what we have to deliver, and it's all sometimes hard because it's kind of hard racing in WR. So yeah, sometimes we get pushed out, something like that. So yeah, we have to be on top, and yeah, next season I don't know what's going to happen with the format. I don't know what Luke is going to do there. I think only Tier 2's racing, but I think some rules or something like that it's in there. So yeah, it's kind of good to have a podium now. It was a nice race.
It'll be good to see whatever ends up happening. I'm sure you'll be involved in whatever capacity is. Well, I believe you're 6th or 7th in the standings, something like that, with 1 round to go. So I mean, I think you're mathematically still in with a chance of a top 3. So that'll be a great way to end off your season. But yeah, it was good to see the race today. Unlucky to not pick up the race victory, but yeah, good to speak to you again as well. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you as well. I think I'm really for real 6th or 7th in the standings now, but I don't know. So yeah, nice call.
Of course, I wouldn't have said it if it wasn't true.
Okay, that's too much brain rot now.
Any joke at all.
Okay, we speak in 6 or 7 days again.
Yes, of course.
Well, congratulations, Dennis, on that one, and yeah, go enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you for commentating. Always a pleasure to be here. Bye bye.
Our pleasure, thank you. Well, we know Joseph is the brain rot connoisseur now, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of 6-7s going on there. But we'll speak to the man who started 10th and made his way to P1. Ryan Modler, whose win is a little bit under controversy at the moment after potential rumours he might have caused that 5-place grid penalty on purpose, but we'll glide past that for now and bring him into the box. Ryan, of course, well, congratulations on your race victory. Can you hear us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Well, congratulations on that win. This time around, it's confirmed on the circuit, and you don't have to wait for the post-race penalties to just confirm that one for you. How does it feel? Just talk us through that race and how it felt getting the win.
Yeah, I didn't expect it. It's because Belgium is one of my weakest tracks, so yeah, I knew there was a chance of rain on the grid, so I've opted for the hard tires. Now I forgot what I wanted to say. Then the early safety car came like lap 7 or something like that. And I thought, oh, now everyone can get fresh tires, especially one starting on the medium tire. But turned out to be the wrong call because they couldn't make any moves. I don't know if you covered them at all because I couldn't see them. And yeah, I just stayed out on the hards and waited for the rain. Asked the engineer when the rain is gonna come the whole time. And then I think in lap 17 it started to rain, or lap 16. And I made 2 crucial moves on Race and Dennis. And yeah, then Dennis pitted 1 lap too early in my opinion, so I overcutted him. And yeah, then this beautiful game doesn't allow us to overtake, so yeah. Feels good, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, it was very much a good result for you and a good race. Talking about that 1 lap too early, from Dennis's point of view, the telemetry he was getting, he would have been out 3 seconds clear if the virtual safety car didn't happen. So, I mean,
I
very
forgot
much
the VSC. Yeah, you're right. I completely forgot the VSC. Yeah, that was lucky. Absolutely lucky.
completely blanked on the VSC. But no, yeah, of course, you make your own luck as well. So you getting those moves done was absolutely crucial, and you were rewarded for it. You got that virtual safety car. What was the feeling inside the car when you saw that virtual safety car pop down? Was it a bit of relief knowing that you've pretty much got this race, not race win in the bag, but you pretty much got the lead out the pit lane in the bag?
Yeah, I mean, I was watching the gap or the delta from Dennis. At the same time, I was driving and trying to keep the car on track, so I didn't really know what was going to happen. And then obviously when I saw the VSC, I knew, okay, I have to pit now. I would have pitted anyway, but I knew, okay, I have to pit now, and I'll probably come out ahead of him. I didn't expect him to be that close, to be honest. But I had plenty of ERS, and you can also save a lot in the wet, so that helped me a lot. And then, yeah, just try to use my ERS wisely, which worked out quite well.
Yeah, it certainly did work out really nicely, especially on that final lap heading up into Le Con. You were just able to keep that gap with him at Arms Bay. Of course, this race victory now actually puts you to 3rd in the standings. I think Kokeni has just confirmed 2nd place. So 3rd is the highest you can get. It is the aim now for the rest of the season. Just see if you can hold on to that for the final round.
Yeah, I mean, I finished P3 last season, and after four rounds without a single point, I definitely take P3 again. So yeah, happy days.
No, yeah, it certainly has worked out a lot. And actually, if the season finishes as it is, if you do get that 3rd place, it'll be the 2nd season in a row, Ryan, where you've come 3rd behind a Mercedes driver in 2nd and a McLaren driver in 1st. So history seeming to repeat itself.
Yeah, well, I mean, if Ryan can drive next week, then he might finish P4. Then we have a Sauber in P4 too. So let's see.
Hopefully he can, because that would be quite a cool fact to bring out. But Joseph, over to you. Do you have any questions for Ryan?
Not in particular. Just congratulations on that victory. And it was, I mean, with the whole rain and dry drama that we've had throughout the course of this race, how much time did you actually put into the wet conditions, or was it just more of a run and gun and see what happens?
Yeah, I mean, I work on Mondays until like 6 p.m. every week, so I only have roughly 2 hours at max every day. So yeah, I practice for 2 hours, and that was only quali and like 3 or 4 race laps, nothing more.
I mean, it's difficult to be coming into the race on those conditions. So it's fair enough that you've taken a victory, and well done to you. I believe you are now in the top 3 with just 1 round to go. So yeah, congratulations today, and we will see you next time out.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for commentating. Have a good one.
Well, that was Ryan Modler, ladies and gentlemen, your race winner. We do have the man who finished third. We've done it in a little bit of a peculiar order, but MTS has joined late. But we do have Raze now waiting for us in the interview booth, so let's now bring him into the chat. Hello, Raze. Can you hear us?
Hiya, I can't hear you.
Well, congratulations on that third place. Just fell short at the end, or either getting second or first. But talk us through that one. How did you find things from your perspective compared to the others?
Oh, well, I mean, that's just taking the fun away. I usually like to ask you guys, how did you guys find the race? Did you guys enjoy it? Was it entertaining?
It was an absolute cracker of a race.
What did you think of the rain at the end? It was a little bit scary for us. I can't imagine how it was in the commentary box for you guys.
It was certainly...
Must have been a surprise, at least.
It was a surprise. I mean, we somewhat predicted it with the clouds rolling in, but yeah, especially when Lamrock came into pit lane, it was very much a guessing game on who chose the right strategy.
100%. It turns out that, you know, I went on a move against Dennis really early on, and I just want to explain why you guys saw me drop off from the rest of the pack. So Dennis obviously was really far behind, around the 9-10th mark, so he wasn't getting slipstream, but in the overtake we kind of went side by side and lost a lot of time. Now I had loads of battery in hand, but with this game, especially at Spa, you run out of deployment, and so I had to do the entirety of the third sector with no deployment. So that explains why we kind of lost we ended up with such a big gap towards I think it was Aaron in P2, but then I think Cameron did pretty well in getting us back. Unfortunately, I think some of those guys made the wrong choice, or they clearly did, on the tires. But I didn't really have a choice. I was going to do the same as them. So I'll be honest with you guys, I was going to do the same as them. My engineer came in clutch today and just said, no, we're gonna go with the Inters and wait it out. So I mean, fair play. Big up Will Witchell for that, because I would have literally been last place if it was down to me. And yeah, I just want to say it was a great race. Congratulations to Ryan Modler and to Dennis as well. They did pretty well. I was just really lacking in the race. Didn't have the raw speed, to be honest. With the setup that I had, it was just the tire wear was really extreme as well. So that's something I need to work on. I've been working on my qualifying performances, and the race kind of just didn't go to plan.
No, it didn't seem so. That it was just one of those where you just fall short, unfortunately, due to the moves that potentially come your way. Of course, Modler made that move on both you and Lamrock, and that sealed him the race. And you never know if you were just able to hold on, or if it was the rain was 1 lap earlier. You could be the one we're talking about heading into the next round as the reigning race winner. So yeah, it was just really unfortunate for you. Just how difficult was to adjust to the conditions as well, from those drives to the intermediates? How did you find that?
I think it was quite obvious that I was running higher top speed, so I was always going to be quite slow in the rain. But it turns out I was actually, pretty okay in the rain. It looked like Ryan, maybe the pressure was getting to him. It seemed like Dennis was a lot faster than Ryan, and I was just biding my time. I was kind of waiting for them to crash, to be honest, because if it's going to be someone, it's going to be that guy. So yeah, anyway, me and my engineer just thought, let's just keep it chill. But even while keeping it chill, we managed to gap the car behind, which I believe was Matthias van Urban. And yeah, I mean, the rain pace was pretty good considering we were on a top speed dry setup. But again, going back to that move with Ryan taking us both, when you've got no DRS and they're that close, and the guy in front of you's just, jumped into the pit lane, it's just pretty much impossible to keep position unless you have a 6-7 tenth gap, or maybe 8-10th gap. But Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I'll take it. I've had 2 podiums in league racing this week, so, and the qualifying pace was not up to par in the session, but on a really bad lap, 3/10 off a PB, we still got the second row. So I'm really happy with that, and I hope you guys enjoyed the race as well, at least.
Yeah, we certainly did. And one more from us, Rays. Of course, we head to Brazil for the finale next week. Well, it's a 2-in-1 kind of question. Will you be racing, and are you confident around Sao Paulo?
I mean, I'm going to be practicing Sao Paulo for a league that will not be named. So we're going to be doing Brazil pretty much the whole week. So I think we're going to be prepared, but that's just not me. That's going to be other people as well. Everyone's going to be very well prepared. So we expect to see a grid of 20 drivers on their A game. We're going to see very, very fine margins in qualifying. I reckon about a 10th and a half will separate the top 10. And let's see what we can do. I think I'm ready. I'm confident in my ability. I think I'll be able to get at least, I'd say, a podium, and I'm going to be looking for the win.
Well, hopefully we do see you come back into the booth as a race winner. But yes, thank you, Rays, for putting on a fantastic race. And yeah, hopefully we see you back next week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, that is that, ladies and gentlemen. That is, of course, the driver interviews now done. One more round remains to show you the calendar, to show you everywhere we have been and where the final destination is. We've been to Las Vegas, Silverstone, Italy, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, Australia, Austria, the Netherlands, and Belgium. And we're going to end off the season next week for round 10 at Sao Paulo. It's going to be an absolute corker of a race. Brazil never fails to disappoint, does it, Joseph? It's going to be an exciting one.
It certainly is. It's going to be a great race. To finish off the season, Brazil's the best race, the best place to have a season finale. And whilst, of course, we don't have a fight for the victory on in terms of the title, we'll still have a fight for the victory on the circuit. I'm sure it's going to be spicy.
Yes, it certainly will be spicy. So make sure you, of course, tune in next week, Monday, 8 o'clock UK time. It will be 9 o'clock Central European time to watch it all unfold for the final time this season. Of course, the championship's off the line. It's all gloves off, and it's drivers racing for pride. Will we see history repeat itself with a McLaren driver, then a Mercedes driver, then Ryan Modler in the standings? It could potentially Bakar, if he is racing, make it 4 cars. 4 same manufacturers plus Modler in the same order as we saw him at the end of last season. That is going to be the question. But thank you all very much for watching. It has been an absolute pleasure, and we shall see you in the next one. Thank you all very much for watching, and goodbye.